Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the zoo. The minions with me tonight are Useless,
Hello, how goes it?
Harry,
Good evening.
Jenna.
Hola.
I always have to double check because you aren't on frequently enough that I remember off the top of my head. Nope. Okay, so traveling exhibits, check.
Good evening, everyone.
And Kyiverdam.
Hi.
How are all of you doing tonight?
I'm alive and kicking.
Always better than the alternative.
Oh, yeah.
What about the rest of you?
I didn't know
all right.
Kyiverdam had a voice. I thought you were just text in a box to the right of my screen.
You didn't hear
Who's
Happy
just a
Birthday for
voice?
Scribe?
No, I didn't.
You should go listen to that, man.
Okay. Well, welcome. Everything's...
It's on-
Harry is scribe.
It's unlisted though. I still have the link to it though.
Oh,
yeah.
Now I'm just getting the mental image of Harry having expected Kyiverdam to start speaking like a speak and spell.
No, it's just interesting when you get sort of proof of life. You know, it's
Yeah.
not just an AI or a bot.
Yep.
getting new people in here. Yeah.
She's
No,
been on
she's
Minions
cool.
before.
Well,
Yeah, on
I
Sundays.
just haven't catched it, but
I just...
she's
yeah,
pretty
exactly.
cool.
Yeah.
Well, I
I'm actually
know.
surprised they haven't been on together since Harry sometimes on Sundays.
Well, he's Saturday, and are you on Sundays?
I used to be,
Okay.
but usually try to get caught up on all the IRL stuff because actually the Saturday show takes a lot of time to put together. So by the time I'm done with that, it's like I kind of need to work and do laundry and stuff on Sunday. So I'm only on if they need me on Sunday, basically.
Yeah, I thought your split days of rest from streaming were Friday and Sunday, so that
Yeah,
still
the-
works in my mind.
The only day
I
that I
thought it
take
was-
off reliably is Friday.
Yep.
Friday, it just does. I just do not stream on Friday unless it's something pretty exceptional.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, so does anyone have anything that they're dying to talk about right away, or shall I go into a rant/ramble that I'm slightly jonesing to get off my chest?
How long will the rant be?
I do.
Sanguine rant.
It's a rant. Go for it, man. I say go for
I'm
it.
more curious as to what you want to rant about than that I am interested in talking about anything I want to talk about. So
Yeah.
go for it.
Okay, so as everyone has no doubt seen and heard to goddamn annoyance with the regularity of hearing, it is Pride Month. And for those who enjoy such a thing, okay, good on you. The thing that drives me crazy is that we have, as a culture, completely forgotten that there's a difference between, or that there's a middle ground between being ashamed of something and being proud of something. You shouldn't be ashamed of your sexuality or race, whatever the fuck. You shouldn't be ashamed of it. But it is not some great achievement to enjoy plugging certain sorts of holes or getting plugged by certain sorts of things. That is not some great accomplishment of your life. And as far as I'm concerned, pride is the wrong word, because pride is something that you should have pride in things that you do. You should have pride in things that allow you to do things. And those are the two main categories of things that you should have pride in. It's perfectly fine to have pride in an accomplishment. If you graduated from college with a fantastic score and you view that as one of your great life accomplishments, sure, you can be proud of your accomplishments in academia. If you are proud that you've worked your entire life, you've never shirked away from doing a hard day's labor, so you're proud of your rough hands because they are the very badges of honor demonstrating that you've done things, then yeah, be proud of that, because that is something that you've done. It is an accomplishment.
Hi, Chaos.
Being
Hey,
proud of a sexuality to me is like someone being proud that they have blonde hair. Not that they have really nice hair that they put in time and effort to, but just the fact that they had the gene sequence for blonde.
Yeah.
It matters that much. It is something that does not inform personality, and I don't want anyone feeling ashamed of that shit.
You should be ashamed of anything.
You shouldn't. Well, you should be ashamed of certain things, but you shouldn't
actions.
be ashamed of that.
Yeah.
You shouldn't be ashamed that you like this or like that unless it's underage or non-sapient.
Yeah.
And if either of those criteria are met, yes, be ashamed because you should be ashamed. But if it's consenting adults, that's nothing to be ashamed about. Who the fuck gives a shit? That's how everyone should treat it. Two consenting adults, fuck if I care. It's not me. And
Okay. Is that endeth the rant, or is there more?
you can jump in there if you want.
Thus endeth the lesson.
He's not quite
So,
done.
immutable characteristics is what we're talking about. And so your thesis is, other than being a pedophile, people should not be proud or ashamed of their immutable characteristics.
Yeah,
Well,
things would get under control.
More if you can be proud of an immutable characteristic that grants you an ability. So, for instance, I'll just go for I did not have to do anything to become as tall, and I had to do very little to become as strong or as durable as I am. This is just shit that my genes did, because my genes decided, Sanguine, you will be a giant dwarf with all of the aspects thereof.
Yeah, but you use that to do abilities, so you use the actions.
Which is why I said that if it's an innate characteristic, it's just something that you were born with that leads to you being able to do something, have pride in that.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Well, there are gay people who, if you hear Milo back before he decided to not be gay, talking about some of the great things that he sees in gay culture, higher IQ than average, a lot of great artists were gay. There is this whole narrative about how, it may be an immutable characteristic, but just being fabulous is something to be proud of.
Yeah.
So there are people who could easily, I'm not saying they're right, but they could easily make the same argument about being gay that you're making about being tall. And I am playing devil's advocate, just so everybody knows.
Yeah.
Well, no, because I'm in the example of me being proud of my strength, for instance. I am not proud of the accomplishments that other people that were strong achieved. It is pride in my own achievements and the things that I can do because of it, not because someone of those same characteristics achieved something. Therefore, I'm going to take some measure of pride in that thing. Even though I am not related to them, I have nothing to do with them or their achievement.
Well, okay, again, playing devil's advocate, we're talking about immutable characteristics. And in this model that you've created, you've conveniently carved out a niche for the immutable characteristics that you have.
Oh, no,
that you're
it's
proud
for
of.
people that have any characteristic that allows them to do something. So, for instance, I do not have perfect pitch. If someone does have perfect pitch,
Me.
and they're proud of the fact that they have perfect pitch because they can tell a C sharp 3 below from any of the other notes, and it allows them to write music or produce music or something along those lines, then that's perfectly fine, because it is an ability that allows them to do something, not just something that is. Being blonde, for instance, being blonde does not grant any additional capability.
Okay, so honestly, I think I agree with you mostly, except for the following. I don't think that you can really take pride in any immutable characteristic. It is the use of that characteristic and what you do with it
Yeah.
that matters. A person who has perfect pitch, who doesn't utilize it, who doesn't take that and then build on it, it's meaningless. Somebody who has your physique, who didn't do the drills, who didn't do the work to play football, it's meaningless. You know, all of these sorts of things are meaningless. It's only the application of these things. Now, it may be true that some people, because of immutable characteristics, have the opportunity to do something that somebody else doesn't. Like, for instance, if you're not of suitable height, the chance you're going to be a professional basketball player is pretty low. But the immutable characteristic itself doesn't really matter. It's only what the person does with it that matters. And that's where the pride comes from.
So I think it might be that we're in effectively complete agreement, just I did a poor job of communicating one aspect. So
I'm
when
just
I
helping
said,
you refine your theory a little bit.
Yep, when I said
Here,
that,
I'll give an example. I think everybody should be proud that I can walk.
Yes.
Yes.
After what you've been through, yes. But that's different, though.
that's
Well,
something that
I'm
was
grateful, but I don't
Yeah.
know if I'm proud. I'm happy that that's true.
Yeah.
Well, no,
I mean, you should take great pride in all the hard work you did to get there. But for me, I'm grateful that you succeeded.
Yes.
true. Yeah, pride should be something that is rather personal, not something that is thrust on others.
Well, maybe they should call it,
Yeah, okay.
gay acceptance once, because that's what it's meant to be, right?
Yeah, that's what I was saying, that there's a middle ground between being proud of something and being ashamed of something.
Yeah.
And if I don't want people to be ashamed, but to be proud that you like to plug a certain type of hole on a certain type of individual is not really some great achievement.
Yeah.
It's something that you did fuck all to achieve, and it's something that grants no achievement from that. So what I was saying with the either something that you've achieved or something that allows you to achieve something, I would say that the allows you to achieve something does have to be tested before it's viable. So
Well, you have to actually achieve something.
Yeah.
achieve something or be...
It's a performative thing.
At least try.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have to be achieving something, trying to achieve something, and yeah, like I said, you can be proud that you're strong so you were able to do X, Y, Z. And that would be pride in the achievement, but it's also somewhat pride in your capability.
Mm-hmm.
And you can be proud of that because it is something that was achieved and something that allows you to achieve.
Yes.
It's when it's divorced from both of those that it's something that you shouldn't be ashamed of, but it falls a goddamn long way short of pride.
Your
Okay, I think I know. Go ahead.
sexuality. Your sexuality shouldn't be the only thing about you.
Your sexuality is not a badge of honor.
Yeah, it's not something that, oh, congratulations, you are A, B, C, or D, or Pan. What it...
Due to all your hard work, congratulations, you're now a puff.
Yeah, and I actually... Well, okay, so I live really close to P-Town, which is... This is not my words, this is what it's called. It's the gay capital of the world, or whatever they say. And there are a lot of... I mean, Pride Month right now, the fireworks from last night and tonight, we could see at my house. And I don't live
so
close to
P-Town. What the hell is P-Town for the rest of the world?
It's
an
Provincetown.
extremely fabulous section of
The piece.
Mass.
Yes.
It is. It is a fabulous place to visit. It's a place I love to take my kids. I will not take them during Pride Month, just because of, well,
The displays of fetish.
yeah.
Well,
The-
is this an
the
actual
parade-
city or part of Boston? What are we? I'm still not clear on what the hell P-Town is.
It's a nickname.
I know it's a nickname for
Provincetown.
what? For Providence. Okay, thank you.
No, Province.
Oh, not Providence, Rhode Island. Okay, just kidding.
No.
Province. Okay.
So it's a section of a town, not a town in and of itself.
No, it is a town. It's on Cape Cod, though.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Got it. Now we
It's
know what you're
its own
talking about.
town.
Okay.
You have to go past Toro and race beach, and you're there.
And how much of its own town are we talking? Are we talking like, let's say Manhattan and New York? Manhattan's technically its own town, but most people just get, no, it's just the greater New York.
I'm guessing it's a lot like Palm Springs.
Or is it more of like DC versus Alexandria, where, yeah, Alexandria is outside of DC, but no one's going, they're the same.
No, P-Town is its own. It has its own zip code. It has its own people.
So it is distinct, not just something that kind of gets folded in.
Mm-hmm.
No, it is. And actually, a lot of gay people started moving to P-Town because it was in the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000s even, a place they could go and be themselves and not have to worry about stigma.
Mm-hmm.
And
Oh, go ahead.
like, so the town I live in is a town outside its right, just like P-Town is. It's also the very end of, if you ever look at a map of Cape Cod, it looks like a arm.
I just learned an important thing. They stick R's where they don't belong and refuse to pronounce them where they do. Continue.
Mm-hmm.
What did I do?
Cape Cod.
Oh, well, I
Cod.
was trying.
You hit
I was
that
trying to
R
say
like
arm.
OG money.
I was trying to say arm and cod at the same time, and that's what came out.
Whereas when
Anyways.
you're saying car, it always comes out ka.
Yeah. In
It
Boston,
happens.
they have ASMR.
Yeah. Sticking
Anyway.
R's in places they don't belong and removing them from places that they do. I suppose it's still balanced that way. There's the same number of R's, just they're in the wrong places.
Conservation of ours. Yes.
Only to
There it is.
you. They're in the right places to us. So it's the very end of the cave. It's beautiful. None of us could ever afford to live there.
Mhm.
And if you want to see a good drag queen show, P-Town's the place to be.
I have never really found an intense desire for that.
For my sister-in-law's bachelorette party, we did that, and we were with my grandmother, my mother, my sister-in-law's mother, and a few of her friends. And let's just say I've watched Brokeback Mountain with my grandmother, and I've been to a drag show with my grandmother.
Oh.
What
Exciting.
motivated you to see Brokeback Mountain?
We thought we were seeing another movie.
That makes a lot of sense. Actually.
What movie did you think that you were seeing? That's the more pressing question now.
It's about,
I think it was Four Brothers.
Those are very different movies.
Yeah, we thought we were going to see Seven Brides for Seven Brothers, but instead we just saw gay cowboys
Eating pudding.
eating pudding.
Nice.
We did. My grandmother and I literally just stood straight, didn't look at each other the entire time.
Yeah.
Got
So
up.
you saw this in a theater?
Yeah.
Oh dear. Okay. And you didn't want to be those people that just sort of walked out, just because it. You just basically sat there, didn't.
Do you
talk,
know how
didn't
much
talk,
those
looked straight
tickets
ahead.
cost us?
Okay.
I mean, I had to sell a child.
I'm sure it was a really good. I'm sure it was a really good movie. Just kind of. I don't really watch
No, it was long
angsty cowboy
and boring.
movies to begin with, and then you throw all this exploration stuff on top of it, and it's like really kind of not in my thing.
Long and boring.
A lot of
Yeah.
exposition.
It was like someone went, okay, you know cowboy movies? Yeah? Let's remove everything about cowboy movies when you think cowboy movie, except the fashion.
Cowboy movies are not supposed to be dudes talking about their feelings, regardless of what those feelings are.
Actually,
Unless
there
it's a
was
feeling of
pretty-
vengeance.
There was a pretty interesting point to it in the fact that it was set back in the past. And okay, spoiler alert! I'm gonna give something away.
No.
What's his name?
I don't know.
Not
Don't
Heath
say the
Ledger,
name.
but the
Don't
other
say the
one.
name, because then that'll decrease the spoiling.
Say it 3 times and then he'll magically show up. It was the other guy who starred in Brokeback Mountain who isn't Heath Ledger. So we know who you're talking about at least.
Yeah, but I've met me, and I better find it out before I.
And I'm trying to remember the name of... It's the Cowboys, if I remember correctly. There is a way of doing a Western
Gyllenhaal?
movie.
Mm-hmm.
Jake
Jake
Gyllenhaal.
Gyllenhaal.
Gyllenhaal?
Yeah, something like
Gyllenhaal.
that.
Okay.
The way that
Gyllenhaal.
most
Whatever.
people pronounce it is Gyllenhaal, yeah.
So this is horrible. At the end of the movie, he is killed by being dragged behind a truck because people in the
Spoiler.
town found out he was gay.
Post.
I told you I was giving a spoiler.
Yeah.
But yeah, there is a way that you can talk about feelings in a Western movie without it being just terrible. Have
Yeah.
any of you seen the movie The Cowboys?
No.
No.
It's a John Wayne movie towards the end of his career.
Is that
And
the one where he's dying?
he was dying in several of them.
I mean, as a character, the character was dying.
I think you're thinking The Shootist.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, go on.
So, in The Cowboys, he's a rancher that decides that he's going to teach a bunch of young boys what being men is about. So he takes them along for a cattle drive. And in the course of the cattle drive, if I remember correctly, it's either he gets injured or he gets killed. And the boys have to end up finishing the cattle drive in his stead. So, yep, he's killed. And it ends up being these young boys have to finish the drive and deal with the shit that's going on in order to make it out alive, because he's killed during the drive. And they're just left by themselves and the old dude who ran the chuck wagon for them. It's a rather good movie, but there's a bunch of moments where it is just them sitting around and talking about what's going on, and it's the I'm scared. And him, before his character dies, before John Wayne's character dies, he's working through them, talking through how to handle being angry, how to handle being scared, how to handle when they're hurt, but they have work to do. And it's him doing there's work to do. It sucks that this is happening, but we need to finish this. And yes, Roscoe Lee Brown was the truck wagon driver in that. And yep, he's murdered by rustlers in that one. And it was the shootist that Harry was thinking of. And yep, that covers that stuff. But it is a fantastic movie if you guys haven't seen it. It's fairly sad, but it's a fantastic movie.
I just realized I haven't seen a John Wayne movie in a very long time.
Perhaps you should break that trend with the Cowboys.
What's the one where he's an American fighter pilot who, as part of some sort of espionage thing, ends up pretending to defect to Russia, and then he basically hooks up with this hot Russian fighter pilot?
Shit, I'm trying to remember.
It's so corny and so bad,
Wait,
but it's
they
awesome
made
because
a
it's the
gay
Duke.
John Wayne movie?
They did what? No, it's a woman.
Russia wouldn't let women be fighter pilots.
Of course they would.
They absolutely did. In Soviet Russia.
All
It just
stores are
became,
full.
fuck it, we need someone to take this position. You, Helga, in play.
Sometimes tractors, sometimes jet.
Yep. Yeah, Russia did not give a shit about trying to protect the women.
Oh, my thought was they are too weak and you're too.
Oh no, Russia knew exactly where to stick women when it came to being in the military. So they didn't have, like, massive female rifle companies or anything like that. They would instead have female snipers. Because they were just as capable of doing the long-range shooting, and they could be mobile. Also, certain people were less likely to shoot a woman, which made them have a slightly increased survivability. And female snipers during World War II in Russia did some insane shit.
Were they stuck in Ukraine?
They were stuck wherever the hell they needed them. Vasily Zaitsev, the sniper from Stalingrad, trained up something like 2,000 plus female snipers after Stalingrad, and they were all sent back to the front. And he had a ridiculous number of them join him in the top Russian snipers of the war category. Like, what is it? Ludmila Polovchenko, I think, was her name, who had 100 plus confirmed kills during the war as well. Russia had absolutely no problem throwing females onto the front line, just they would choose what positions they ended up in rather than allowing them to be the grunts.
309 confirmed kills.
Yeah, I remembered it being something ridiculous. I just didn't remember how ridiculous. Yeah, and was I right? It was Ludmila Pavlichenko?
Lyudmila Pavlichenko, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely ridiculous. Yeah, they didn't use women because they were progressive. They used women because they were desperate and because they didn't really give a shit. They didn't have the "we must protect the women." They had the We must protect Stalin. Fuck it, anyone not Stalin, get to the line. But they were fairly clever in their usage. They didn't just completely toss them. They stuck them in positions where they had the greatest opportunity to do damage and the greatest opportunity to survive while doing damage.
Real quick, can I didn't really get to tell my perfect pitch story.
Yep.
All right. Sorry to circle back to this, but yeah, I was kind of proud to have perfect pitch because that meant I never went sharp or flat. Because like there was a soloist one time, I think it was a choir concert, and she like went flat immediately because we were singing a cappella, or she was at least, and then this piano started playing. It's like she was flat. Yeah. So yeah, I can sing a cappella.
I wish I could sing well.
Yeah, like I said,
I love your birthday singing, Kyiv.
Thank you.
it's important to have pride in things that you've accomplished.
Yeah.
And to recognize when pride is a proper response to something and when pride isn't. The problem is that we've so goddamn diluted pride. And we've made it so that, oh no, you should just have pride in yourself. What if you haven't accomplished anything? You should still have pride. No, you shouldn't.
No.
If you've accomplished absolutely nothing, which is worthy of pride, I'm tempted to say that you should feel somewhat ashamed, because that means that you've lived a pretty much pointless life at that point. Do better. Do something that's worthy of being proud.
Hey, Sang,
Accomplish something, yes?
never work on a suicide hotline.
I've had to deal with suicides. I'm decent at it. I just feel like I need to bathe afterwards.
I'm really sorry. Ted Bundy worked hotline.
Yeah, he was a suicide hotline operator. Well, he was a suicide and crisis operator, so
That
he
really
did
surprises me.
suicides as well as it was a rape crisis hotline as well. So he would talk people out of suicide and talk them through what they need to do if they were raped, and then on his evenings he would go out and kill a woman.
What a guy.
I wonder if you got the addresses from the suicide hotline.
Don't kill yourself. Where do you live, by the way?
Yeah, there's a jogging trail near your
That's
house
insane.
that's really nice.
I'll pop on by later tonight. Don't worry. You won't have to worry about anything. Don't kill yourself.
You know, suicide is counted as a mortal sin. If I do it, it's a lot better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you really want to be damned to hell for all eternity because you decided to off yourself? Really? If you think about it right, I'd be doing you a favor. You can still go to heaven.
This is for you. This isn't for me. I'm going out of my way to save your soul.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And don't worry about whatever stains or bodily fluids are around afterwards. Yeah. He was an absolute charmer, right?
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What a guy.
But at least the people saying he was so handsome had more of a point than... Are you guys familiar with the dating game killer?
No.
Oh my god, that is so disturbing.
The toy box killer, though, yeah, I'm familiar with him.
Harry, have you ever heard of the dating game killer?
He was a kid
Nope.
when it happened.
So, the dating game killer was someone who was a serial killer, and then he stopped killing for a bit. During one of his breaks in serial killing, he ended up on the dating game. And he charmed the person during the show, so she ended up actually selecting him, if I remember correctly.
Oh dear.
Then she met him after the show, because at the very end they show who you've been seduced by, and she got to talking to him after the show, and they were in the process of trying to decide if they were going to go someplace together, and she just got this really bad feeling, so completely dipped out. Probably saved her life.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. And he started killing again shortly after that, before finally getting caught. And it was someone, if I remember entirely, I think he was actually partially caught because of the dating game, because they were finally able to get a composite sketch, and someone went, wasn't he on the dating game?
Stupid on him.
Yeah.
Psychopaths give off a natural predator response in people.
Some of them do, some of them don't. You'd be surprised how many people have. There's a good reason why a common response when you're talking about absolutely horrendous crimes is not, oh yeah, I always knew that it would be him. There's some exceptions to that. Like,
Nicholas Cruz.
Cruz was an example where people just went, oh, yeah, okay, yeah, that makes sense.
We knew that was going to happen.
Gein, Ed Gein. You guys all know who Ed Gein is, right?
No, I have never studied serial
How do you spell his
killers.
name?
Ed Gein is the Nipple Belt guy, made people shades, people chairs.
Wow.
Okay,
I
nipple
briefly heard
belts. Is
about
that what I
this.
think it is?
It's a belt made out of nipples, yes.
Wow.
Would that even work?
He cut off a bunch of people's nipples,
Okay.
stitched, and areolas. So he stitched the areolas so that they were overlapping like a goddamn shield wall,
Mm-hmm.
and made a belt out of them after tanning them like leather.
So I can see a headband, but a whole belt. That's a lot.
Yeah. He had the nipple belt. He had a chair that he upholstered in people leather.
Wow.
He had people shades for lamps that were human leather made into a lampshade.
He's from my state
What?
too.
Yep. And he was a cannibal.
Do go
He's-
to Outswitch and take. Oh, I didn't say that
No,
right.
he
And
was.
take notes.
So, you know the movie Psycho?
I've heard it.
You know how he killed his mother and started wearing her as a people suit in the movie? Yeah, they got that bit of information from Ed Gein. Yeah, he
Jesus.
violated his mother's severed head. He wore his mother's skin as a people suit.
Oh,
He-
I heard of this before, actually.
Ate people. Anything that he wasn't able to eat by himself, he gave to people that helped him out as a... Not helped him out in the murder, but just helped him out like, hey, you need a wrench? I was about to get rid of one of my old tool sets. Don't need all this shit anymore. Grab as many as you want. He would pay them back by
Do you like
giving
ribs?
them packets of deer meat that after the fact, yeah, it turned out that it probably wasn't.
Hmm.
He was absolutely fucked beyond belief.
Yeah.
So he was one of the examples of when he was finally caught, everyone just kind of went, oh yeah, he was fucking weird, wasn't he? We probably should have realized that people were disappearing in our... Why the fuck didn't we immediately realize that it was him? But everyone pretty much came out and went, yeah, that makes absolute sense. Whereas if you're talking about like BTK, Dennis Radar, he when he was finally caught, everyone was coming out going, yeah, I didn't expect him. I mean, he was the deacon at the church, and he was part of the neighborhood watch, and he was doing this. He was helping out here. There was one person who was going, yeah, he gave me the fucking creeps. And it was one of the women that he had meant to kill, just she had a dog, and then she had a boyfriend and a dog, and that kind of scared him off. He tried to poison the dog several times. She kept on saving the dog before it died. And that kept him from actually going through with the strangulations and murders that he had intended for her. So, a lot of serial killers, there's I would have never guessed that it would be him. Some of them, there are the response of, oh yeah, that fucking weird bastard. How the fuck didn't we realize that it was him? If you guys had asked us, who the fuck do you think was causing all these people to disappear, we would have pointed to him. He is a weird motherfucker.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Unabomber was another example of someone that everyone just kind of went, oh yeah, he was weird. But then you had, like I said, Dennis Radar, the BTK, find him, torture him, kill him. You had John Wayne Gacy, the killer clown.
Speaking of John,
anyone that chooses to be a clown for a living, you expect them to at least kill or kidnap.
What about Willard Scott?
Well, John Wayne Gacy, the killer clown, he wasn't a full-time clown. It was something that he did in his off time. He was, I want to say it was the president of the, goddamn, what union was it? It was not the Longshoremen. It was like the Longshoremen Union. The Teamster Union. He was either president or secretary of the Teamster Union for a while. Really respected in his community. Did the birthday clown thing just as a lark and to entertain kids, according to him. And then, yeah, it turned out that he was kidnapping teenage boys and murdering them and fucking them.
Wait, if it's Pride Month, shouldn't we call him John Wayne Gacy?
Well, he had a wife, but his wife was effectively a beard. He had some children with his wife, again, to provide cover for what he did, because during the court, all of his victims, he strangled until they were unconscious, then did horrendous things to them until they woke up, and then killed them when they woke up. And then fucked them again. Then he buried them underneath his house. In the crawl space. And, yeah, he was fucked up. They caught him. When they arrested him, he took several days of rather gleefully explaining his rope trick, as he called it, which was his preferred method of strangulation. And then after explaining the rope trick at length in recordings, drawing a map of where all the bodies were located in his crawl space and naming each of the bodies within his crawl space, and then several bodies that he had dumped elsewhere, and naming all of his victims, which all corresponded with the missing persons cases that were out, and the people that they presumed were murdered by him, and everything like that. After doing all of that and confessing several times during the court case, he tried to say that he was innocent and he never did any of it. And the police were just like, we told you that we were recording this shit. Okay, he's saying that he didn't do anything. Please get out tape recorder 6.
Elowen is asking in chat, are you sure you're not mixing him up with Jeffrey Dahmer with the basement?
No, Dahmer lived in an apartment and he kept people in barrels and in his refrigerator. Gacy was the crawl space. John Wayne Gacy had the crawl space. He sprinkled down quicklime in his crawl space in order to try to cover the smell, and had a ridiculous number of people excavated. Dahmer lived in a city, if I remember correctly, because he was trying to make mindless sex zombies effectively. When the brother was able to come to, go sprinting out of the apartment, go running down the street, he didn't speak English very well. He was half naked. People got him to police officers. Dahmer ended up showing up, started explaining that they were boyfriends. His boyfriend had had too much to drink. Just let him take him back. It's okay. It's all just this big misunderstanding. He gets this way when he drinks. Don't worry about it. He'll get him back. And it'd be really embarrassing if the police wrote him up for this or anything like that. Can you please help him out, because his boyfriend will lose his job and he might lose his job if it comes out that he's gay. And then, yeah, he took him back to the apartment and murdered him.
He just had a taste for that flavor.
Yeah, and like I said, it was fucked up because he didn't even know that it was the younger brother of the guy that he had already killed.
Well, there goes my taste.
Yeah, that's a joke.
Well, no, it still stands because they're still related. But
Yeah, but if you didn't know, it's not, him being out of, craving some.
No, I argue it actually works a bit better. Because then that shows that he really had a taste for that, because even without knowing that it was the same thing, he had to get him a piece of that.
Harry, Assassin is asking you what rule?
When we talk about long pig, I believe is the rule. I'll have to look up
Yes.
exactly which one it is.
It was anytime that someone mentions or talks about cannibalism.
Yeah,
We have a rule, a drinking game rule about cannibalism.
we do.
Yes, it happens
It's
frequently.
in the Discord.
Wait, there is? How?
Well,
What is it exactly?
Gotta buy some Moscato.
Let me see.
The way
Drinking
that we
game.
have it is Harry made up the drinking game, so we now have the rules to it.
Oh, can I just say that I was disappointed that I can't remember which one it was about me. I just know that one of them was number 26, and one of my favorite numbers is 27.
And that
was-
is why it will never be changed.
Mine was
Never.
me retracting my messages.
That was
Mine
what.
was when I post message retracted.
Okay, it is
Yeah.
shot rule number 8. Anyone mentions long pig or cannibalism.
Yep.
Well, speaking of cannibals, there was actually this one guy, Kefki. There was actually
Kefki.
this one. There was someone who, I think he was a doctor in Germany. He tried or attempted cannibalism, and then he became vegetarian.
Mhm.
That's one way to do it.
Not
Hey,
familiar with that
Sanguine,
story. Yep.
I have to do this to teach him a lesson.
Oh, you're about
What
to
did I
bop-
do?
I think she's about to time out
Oh,
Mr. Yes, if she can figure out how.
Mr. Monopoly.
what?
She gets annoyed whenever someone does the message retracted, so I think she's
What
trying
if
to
I
figure
do
out
it?
a way to time
You
him
have a
out.
rush
She figured it out.
time. What?
But yeah, it
Sorry,
there's a
Mr.
lot of
Messenger.
really interesting serial killer stories. And I thought when you were talking about the German doctor, I thought you were confusing the French doctor shortly after World War, or really kind of in Vichy time, that murdered a ridiculous number of people in his second home, started trying to burn them, fucked off to do something else. Someone found the bodies after several days because of the smell. The gendarme showed up, started investigating the scene. He went running in saying that all the bodies were, or he checked to make sure that all of the gendarme that showed up were actually French and none of them were German. And then claimed that he was actually a freedom fighter and all the bodies were of Germans and that they need to keep it a secret because if they don't, then he's a dead man because the Germans will come after him. And proceeded to continue murdering people while saying that he was a resistance fighter. It finally came out that none of the resistance organizations knew who the fuck this man was. And he refused to admit that he had murdered anyone. Turned out pretty much everyone that he murdered had been French, none of them German. And he went to the gallows saying that he had done his country honor. And yeah, to this day, everyone's going, no, this man's fucking insane. So I thought you were confusing that, and that was going to be the German doctor that you had been talking about.
I think the German doctor did this in like somewhere in the 2000s.
Huh. I'm not sure who that one would be.
I'll look him up. Oh. Sorry, I forgot to mute myself.
But again, if we're talking about cannibalism, we have to shout out the most prolific cannibal of the 20th century by talking about Ratu Udre Udre.
Oh, who's that?
A cannibal that consumed, it was either just about 300 or just about 400 different people.
Huh.
He was the most prolific cannibal of the 20th century.
Did you kill them all, or do you like rub the bodies, or what?
Let me pull up the bit about Ratu Udre Udre. Sorry, of the 19th, not the 20th. And I massively undercut his number.
Oh,
The corrected number is somewhere between 872 and 999.
wow.
Yeah, he was a Fijian chief
Oh.
and consumed an insane number of people. He had kept a stone to record each body he had eaten, and these were placed along his tomb in Rocky, North Viti Levu, however the fuck it's pronounced. I don't know Fijian. But yeah, most prolific cannibal of the 19th century, Ratu Udre Udre.
It says his victims were not normal people, but they were, quote, spoils of war, unquote.
Yep.
What does that mean?
It means he was one of the, or he was the chieftain of a cannibalistic tribe.
Oh, okay.
So tribal warfare, where they decided that they would eat the people that they beat.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
eat 'em, man, eat 'em.
That's one way to do it.
Yep. And that just reminded me of the... What the fuck was the name of the Englishman? The white headhunter. What the fuck was his name? There's a guy who became known as the White Headhunter. He was an English sailor, if I remember correctly. And he ended up wrecking... Quickly pull this up. It was Jack Renton. That was the guy's name. He was a Scottish sailor. Sorry, not an English sailor. A Scottish sailor that ended up wrecking on the coast of, what was it? Mali? Malatia. Or Malaita. Sorry, Malaita. And he was captured with two others that survived the shipwreck. Two of them ended up dying. He ended up being sold to another tribe of headhunters and became the slave of their chief. He found an opportunity where he thought he could escape while they were preparing for a war party to go attack another group of headhunters.
Mm-hmm.
And while they were doing their partying before the attack, he snuck off, hopped in a boat, and took it downriver, unwittingly straight into the other group of headhunters. The group of headhunters and the chieftain that he was a slave to found out that he had stolen one of their boats and had sailed it down the river, pursued this, and they had come to the decision that he hadn't been trying to escape. No, he had been so psyched up by the war chants and the festivities that he decided that he would go first and he would earn his glory by attacking the enemy before they had time to launch the full attack. So he ended up becoming an honored member of the tribe.
Nice.
If I was him, every time the hunting party came back with not very much, I would start to worry.
Yeah, but he became a honored member of the tribe after that fight. He ended up getting a tribal bride, joined in a bunch of their wars that they had, and ridiculous shit. The dude's life was just absolute insanity.
I
Sounds
found
like
the
it.
German cannibal.
Nice.
Go ahead.
I'll post his name in the private chat.
Okay. But yeah, he ended up... Eventually, the English were trying to make some headway with these tribes and get them to stop attacking them and kind of join them in attacking, I think it was the Dutch. So they came to this select group and they found out that there's a fucking Scotsman in this group of headhunters. So they kind of rescued him, took him away. He then became the liaison between the headhunter tribes and the English, getting them to join in the war. It was an absolute fucking mad story.
Yeah, sounds like
Apparently, when the guy finally died, the tribe mourned his passing.
Well, it's a true story, man.
Yeah, it's absolute insane shit from history.
Yeah, it reminds me of a joke. Unfortunately, it's not a good enough joke to repeat on stream. It's a stupid joke. Yeah.
I just saw the
Cannibals.
most bizarre thing ever.
Which was?
So, Monkey's currently streaming, and there are multiple accounts under the name Rosetta Stone that keep spamming, "You're crying more than the old lady," and it's your YOUR.
Okay.
Nice.
It's
Oh, this is the voluntary cannibalism guy.
yes, I should have mentioned that too. Sorry,
Or
I knew you
The
would have heard of it.
dude that he was talking about is Armin Mayus. Or Mavu.
Well, if it's German, I would assume it's pronounced
Maivis.
Maivis.
Mivus. Yeah. Armin Mivus. I was trying to remember what the fuck.
Or maybe it's Moose. I don't know.
It'd be long I. It'd be
Wow.
Mavis. Armin Mavis, if I remember correctly. So he ended up joining a online community of people that were interested in cannibalism, from what I remember, and then he found someone that was willing to be the sacrifice.
Cannibal buddies.
Yeah, and this one dude answered the advertisement, showed up, and yeah, he ended up dead, and Armin there ate him.
I have a
And-
very important question.
Go ahead.
Yes.
How did we go from Pride Month to cannibalism?
That's what we do here.
Well,
Just talking
Your
about
guess is good as
guys
mine.
who are interested in man meat.
yeah,
It's a
I
natural
can
evolution.
toss this to make it even more in line with it, because the body part that he decided to eat. So the story is the two men met up. Did he actually? I don't think. Maybe let me quickly check, because Brandes, the guy that. Okay, yep, he did die in the end. So the two met up for their date, dinner date, I guess, whatever the fuck you want to call it. And they apparently filmed the entire thing where Armin amputated the dude's penis with his agreement. Then they both ate the penis together.
Mm.
Brandes swallowed 20 sleeping pills and a bottle of cough syrup to slow his breathing and hopefully OD.
Wow.
And then, so Brandes was originally insisting that Armin bite his penis off, but they decided to remove it with a knife instead. And then they tried to eat it raw. They didn't like the texture, so they fried it in a pan with salt, pepper, wine, and garlic. And also with a bit of the dude's fat. They ended up burning it so badly that they could not consume it.
Mm. That's
So-
the worst.
They chopped it up into fine chunks and fed it to the dog. This sounds like a joke. This is not a joke. This is the actual event.
You know, you only get one
Kinda sounds
shot.
like South Park.
Yeah, the dude then was feeling woozy from the blood loss, so they ran him a bath, and he sat in the bath for a good while with fucking Armin checking up on him every 15 minutes. Determined that, yeah, he was bleeding out. He was going to die, which no shit when you
I'm going
chop
to
off
ban
a-
somebody. Don't worry about it.
Oh, Okay.
do let me know in back chat or in a DM so I can figure out why.
Oh, I see why.
So before anybody times this person out, wait
yep.
so that I can actually ban them.
Yeah, don't
I see why.
Because
touch anything.
Yep. So
Wait, what happened?
don't worry about it.
Don't
Just
worry.
keep going.
So when you chop that off, it doesn't stop bleeding on its own. You need to surgically stop the bleeding. But yeah, he was bleeding out, he passed out, and then Armin stabbed him in the neck.
Harry,
I'm working
There's
on it.
2 of them. Yep.
Yeah. Another
Oh, we seem to be getting...
So Monkey's chatting now out. Oh my god.
don't.
Yeah, I can't ban them if you mute them, people.
Yep.
Yeah, don't
mute
mute.
them.
Let us handle it.
Are you signed into the proper account, Harry, while
Yep.
you're doing this? Okay. Because I was going to say I can quickly hop in and start doing the same if you want. Or do you have it under control?
That's another one.
Well, so far there's not that much of it, so we're okay.
Were these spam
Fair
accounts? Or like,
Yeah, it looks like someone's botting.
I think these are bots.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Someone's botting.
Jason, stop timing people out.
I didn't.
But yeah, Harry
It says
has it
mute
under
this book.
control.
Yeah. I removed him from the channel.
Unless
We'll
you're
just let-
logged in as minions, you can't do that.
Yeah, we'll just let
Oh.
Harry handle it
Yeah.
Okay.
since he's
Go
logged
on,
in and
continue
able
talking
to.
about
But yeah,
cannibals.
the Armin then stabbed the man to death and then was arrested for this, especially when they found out, oh, there's actually videotape of this shit happening. Which is just fantastic. Gotta love when people decide that they're going to decide or do that shit, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, interesting bit. Anyone have anything else that they noticed today that they want to rant about now that we've done my rant and that transferred into serial killers by some means?
What are you cooking?
Tonight I have chicken kebabs that I got from the butcher shop with one of their proprietary blends. Then I'm sauteing up some mushrooms. I'll have some saffron rice. And I have some naan that I warmed up by throwing over top of the kebabs once the kebabs were done. And letting them kind of absorb the juice and go under the still not quite burning hot, but still fairly hot broiler. And Hammer's also jumping in on this, so
Good.
Hammer.
I was going to scream for help.
Yeah, I just let him know.
Yep.
Thank you, sir.
thank you. And like I said, if you want me to start doing
No,
that as
you
well,
have a
I
show
can.
to run. Don't worry about
Yeah.
it. Just,
Okay.
Do your thing, man.
But yeah, so that's what I'm having for dinner tonight, which should be absolutely delicious.
Good.
Then I've also continued doing my experiments with my chamber vacuum sealer. So I had raspberries and blackberries that I got today while grocery shopping that I've divvied them up in one packet of just raspberries in Jameson, one packet of just blackberries in Jameson, and then a packet of raspberries and blackberries in Riesling. And those, I'm curious to see if they keep as well as the strawberries have. Because if so, this is a fantastic way of actually having them last long enough to eat my way through them rather than, you know how it is buying berries. You buy a pack of berries, and by the time that you're about to start cracking into one, they've all gone bad because they go bad the moment that you turn away from them. And
Huh.
yeah, no clue where the bots are coming from, Monopoly.
Yeah.
But we have at least 2 people endeavoring to keep up with it, and they will eventually be able to.
I'm gonna check to
get
see if
rid of
anyone
it.
else is live.
Sanitized for your protection.
Yep.
Yeah.
So,
I'm recording all of them, so
do ignore the bots.
yeah, they're
The
being
shit
assholes.
happens when it comes to streaming. No clue where they're coming from.
How did Hammer know?
Hammer was told by Check.
I told him in Monkey's chat that the minions got spammers too.
Yep, we got botted. So it's happening in Monkey's chat as well?
Yeah, he said something about Regina.
Well, in
being-
Monkey's chat, it was just someone spamming, "You're crying more than
Rosetta
the old
Stone.
lady." Yeah,
Rosetta
someone-
Stone.
Multiple accounts named Rosetta Stone because there was one that had like a green icon and one that had a orange and blue, red.
Well, now they're here. Looks like it stopped for now.
Yeah, shit like that happens. Like I said, it's a facet of streaming on the internet.
This guy's.
You will eventually end up with spammers, you will eventually end up with bots.
Yeah.
And it happens to Discords as well, so we should probably keep an eye on that in the next couple days.
It can happen on Discord.
Yeah, we have some protections in place to make it less likely. But
Let's not
That
tell
was-
them about those.
that was why Monkey's original Discord ended up going down, because some idiots decided that they would absolutely blast the shit out of it with bots.
Yeah,
yeah.
too bad I'm the only one on stream who can't do anything about it.
Yeah, it's alright.
Well, like was said, Harry is in the account, Hammer's probably in the account as well. And it's only if you're in the Minions account that you're able to
Ban people.
completely go through it. Yeah, we changed up the permissions so that
Oh, okay.
our mods can block people for a bit, bop them, but not completely ban.
I'm going to take this guy out to this Jenna.
And so anyone else notice anything interesting happening today? There is the thing that AOC was getting pissed off about, but she's getting absolutely slammed for it, which is rather fucking funny, especially the way that they're going, or that she's getting responses. Any of you see that today?
What was it?
What was it?
So, AOC is hailing from Puerto Rico, as everyone knows, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Oh, her grandma,
Unfortunately.
right?
Yep.
Her grandma, right?
Exactly. So, AOC was apparently visiting her grandma, found out that her grandma is living in rather rough conditions because, well, the government of Puerto Rico did such a spectacular job at administering the relief that Puerto Rico received when the last hurricane went through.
Wait, no. Puerto Rico received help.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. The government of Puerto Rico did such a fantastic job of distributing the aid that they got, the aid that we know that they got, because
They did a
despite
press
saying
conference.
that they never got any sort of emergency provisions or anything like that. Well, the problem is that
They
then
did a press conference in front of it.
yeah, and stories came out of, hey, we finally found the warehouses where all this shit was happening, where all this shit was stored, and when we did that, turns out that there's a shit ton of toilet paper, water bottles, and everything else in there that would have been fantastic. Yeah, it was multiple warehouses of emergency supplies and relief aid that were sent to them that were just left to mold and rot. And several of the warehouses had their roofs collapse, exposing all the supplies to the elements, which resulted in the supplies no longer being valid to distribute. The supplies that, again, the Puerto Rican officials swore up and down that they never received and were being withheld from them, that we found all of them. And yeah, just absolutely brilliant, that, right?
Yeah.
But she was talking about that on Twitter, and people just started going, wait, you make $125,000 plus a year, and to fix your mother's roof would have cost $300, or your grandmother's roof, rather.
Nice.
What about that tax the rich shit? You're a fuck ton richer. How about you just send some money? Can't help your grandma out. You have to tweet this shit out in order to get people to go after Trump for something that has already been proved wrong.
Yeah.
Absolutely brilliant. It's the sort of take that you really expect from AOC.
Oh, remember, she was in the Capitol.
She was Capitol adjacent.
Yep. She was in the Capitol and was having all these problems, and she was terrified for her life, despite the fact that when it was happening, her first response was, "Someone stole my shoes."
Really?
Yeah, you don't remember that? That was one of the best things.
That was her actual response?
Someone stole her shoes during the Capitol incident. And yeah, one of the first things that she said, despite now saying that she was afraid for her life, that they were banging at her door and she knew that they were coming to kill her, and isn't this terrifying and horrible? Yeah, one of the first things that she said in response to this was, "Someone stole my shoes." And then it was after that the "I was scared for my life and hiding in the bathroom" story came out. So, remember, scared for her life, but someone stole her shoes, more important than the "I was terrified."
Yep. Well, she is a liar, after all. Proven many times. Like that, what was it, the camps for the kids? Remember she did that photo shoot where she was crying, but there's nobody there?
Yep. Did the photo shoot in front of a parking lot. And suddenly, now that those kids in cages, which, by the way, those facilities were made during the Obama-Biden timeframe, when it was under the Trump administration, those were used as extremely temporary overflow facilities.
Yeah. Thanks, Obama.
And then they were sent to the actual facilities, which looked like a goddamn boarding school. That's as terrifying as those facilities were. They were a boarding school, effectively. They had classrooms, they had bedrooms. That's where the people were actually sent. That's where they were actually housed. And then now that we're in the Biden administration, suddenly we don't really hear much about the kids in cages, do we?
No.
Despite the fact that all those facilities that were closed down and were at most used as very temporary processing sites. So effectively, if you've ever been to a convention, think of con registration. That's effectively what those facilities were. You went there, you got registered, they sent you on to the next location. Yeah, all those facilities opened back up and now completely overflowed with people actually staying there rather than just being moved along through the system.
Well, then what were they complaining about?
Yeah, it was bullshit when they were complaining about it, because they were complaining about a problem that happened during the Obama administration that was fixed during the Trump administration and is now back in place during the Biden administration. But they never cover the two bookends of that. They just say that Trump kept kids in cages. For like 2 hours, they were in the line to get processed.
Yeah.
And then they were sent to the actual facility. Now those facilities are overflowed, actually being used to house people for more than just a couple hours for processing. And now people are being dumped in areas other than the actual facilities that are recorded.
They're being dumped in Tennessee.
Yep. They're
Apparently, there's been. I don't think this number can be right. 500,000 children, that can't be right.
with the number of people that are trying to come across in the surge, it very well might be.
Holy shit.
Yeah, they took record number lows in the number of people trying to get across the border, and they turned them into record level highs in no time at all. It was literally sweeping up into record highs by inauguration.
Yeah.
And no real sign of it stopping. Which is absolutely brilliant, right?
Yeah.
Because as we all know, the real solution to a problem is the problem on steroids.
Don't worry. Cal has this.
Well, we haven't tried real open borders yet.
No.
Oh, that's not even funny. The governor of Texas did declare a state of emergency.
Oh, they did.
Oh, yeah. Why?
Why?
Yeah.
Because the
Just-
border thing is really a border crisis.
Oh.
They're all the
Oh, you're talking about the border crisis. I thought Texas. No, sorry.
yeah. It wasn't,
said Texas.
Galveston isn't underwater again. It's
Yeah.
the border.
Yeah.
The border that the person who's in charge of the border, Kamala Harris,
Hasn't been.
to. She's
Yep.
been to the northern border to keep an eye on all you shifty Canadians, but she's not has not gone to the southern border.
Thanks, no beaners.
I just said that Cal was doing a great job at, taking care of the border situation.
Yeah, I misunderstood when you said Cal.
I never say her name right, so I'm just sticking to Cal.
Kamala.
I'm thinking of Cal Worthington car commercials now. Thank you.
See, when she said Cal and then started going on about the governor, I was going, wait, California's governor announced a state of emergency? What the fuck?
Yeah, Gavin Newsom has decided that the state of emergency is he sucks and he got voted out of office.
Mr. Yes, it's mostly people from South America, Argentina, and all that, not Mexico.
Well, it's pretty much everyone south of our border,
Yeah, but
with like a very small handful of exceptions.
yeah,
And there are ways to do it legally.
Mm-hmm.
In
just takes
fact,
longer. It costs money. That's why. So
And
that
if-
doesn't excuse.
And
I know.
if you're trying to go for the we're seeking asylum, okay, please explain how every country that you passed through is not a safe country. Because if any of them are, the first one that you hit's the one that you're supposed to stop at for asylum.
I mean, Mexico ain't all that safe though.
Well,
Well, they
by
went through
their
other
standard,
countries.
pretty much the United States is the worst country there is,
Yeah.
except for the fact that it's the only country that's good enough for refugees.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, I mean, how patronizing is that? You're essentially saying that no other country in the world is worth living in, except for the one that we're in that's full of racists and misogynists and et
Yeah,
cetera,
well,
et cetera.
We are the best
old
country after all.
Winston Churchill line
Yeah.
of, I always confuse the original and the paraphrase, so I'll give both of them. One of them is, republics or democracy is the worst sort of government except for all of the others,
Mhm.
and capitalism is the worst system ever developed except for all of the others.
Yeah. Well, this is a thing I've been sort of harping on across multiple visits to the show here, which is that people are not comfortable with the fact that sometimes all you have are bad options and worse options.
Mm-hmm.
And somehow they think that because something isn't perfect, therefore you have to change it. It's like, well, no, the least bad option is still the best option. Warts
Yeah.
and all, capitalism is the best system.
As the saying goes, perfect is the enemy of good.
Yep. Which is something I have to remind myself of all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Because my tendency is to want to make things perfect in a way that is pleasing to me logically. And I don't always have the luxury of spending 2 or 3 days fixing something simple in a way that I think is interesting and, beautiful.
Mhm.
Sometimes you just got to get her done.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember the phrasing that I heard someone use for this. It was something along the lines of, anything worth doing is worth doing at least poorly.
Hammer makes a good point. America healthcare isn't great, but I wouldn't want anyone else.
Mm-hmm.
I'd
Yeah,
be,
there are ways to fix the healthcare system, but those ways aren't the ways that people are really putting forward. Or at least the vast majority of people that talk about healthcare.
Well, we could remove the giant stick from the FDA's ass.
Mm-hmm.
That would be a way. And a lot of good things that were done in the previous administration, such as allowing doctors to work across state lines and
Mhm.
opening up a lot of telemedicine stuff. They're talking about sunsetting that stuff and putting things back the way they were. And the real answer is why?
Mm-hmm.
Why are you doing
Because-
this? Other than the fact that the AMA is effectively a cartel.
because
Yeah, if you
Orange
want-
Man bad.
If you wanted healthcare prices to go down, there's a bunch of different things that you could do to fix it. One of the first things is make it a lot easier for a health insurance company to open up in a large area and go across regional lines. Because currently we have effectively regional blocks of what healthcare or what health insurance companies are allowed to operate. So if you live in the Northeast, you get these 6 companies, if it's even that many. If you live in the Midwest, you get these 6. If you live in the Mountain Time Zone, you get these 6, so on and so forth. which means that they don't really have competition, because once those 6 set a price that's comparable to each other in that region, none of them really have any incentive to dip down. If he made it so that it was a lot easier to cross those regional lines, so the 6 in the Northeast are also competing with the 6 in the Midwest, are also competing with the 6 in the West. Suddenly, now there's more market, and people have to compete more.
Yeah.
So that's one thing.
Well, shouldn't the FDA be voluntary, not forced on people? Because it's not an elected body, is it? It's just like a part of the government that nobody elected and can make rules for people to follow.
Governmental bureaucracy, yeah.
Yeah.
And
Because I don't like the idea that that they're in control of our medicine or healthcare. It's kind of
one of the other things that can be done is the reason why prices keep on increasing, or at least one of the reasons why prices keep on increasing,
the malpractice lawsuits.
So one of the first reasons is the amount of insurance that's needed at every part of the medical care system. Because let's say, who wants to be going for surgery? Which of you wants to be my example of going for surgery?
Not it.
I come back to going for surgery. I'll just do it.
Check's going for surgery. So
Yeah, check.
let's say Check ended up damaging his rotator cuff. So he's going in for surgery to get his rotator cuff fixed up. So in order for him to pay for his medical coverage, he needs to also pay for the insurance that covers against lawsuit for all of the pharmacists that are producing the medicine that he's taking, and are the last point of contact between him and the nurse who administers the drug. He needs to cover their insurance. He also needs to cover the insurance for the nurse. He also needs to cover the insurance for the doctor who is going to be operating. He also needs to cover for the anesthesiologist who is part of the surgery. He also needs to cover for the facility that he's at. He also needs to cover for the company that first produced the medicine that is then being given to him after being distributed by the pharmacist to the nurse to finally reach him. So he has to pay for all of those liability insurances. And it's every person that comes into contact with him, and every person at every point in the chain for that medicine to reach him, and for that treatment to reach him. He's paying for liability insurance. That gets to be an absurd number really fucking fast. So that's one of the things that keeps on driving prices up. We have so much fucking liability insurance, and the amount that you need in order to cover a practice keeps on increasing every year.
Yeah.
Because more doctors are getting sued, more nurses are getting sued, and it's not like more doctors are getting sued because more doctors are fucking up. The rate of fuck-up's probably about the same. Just people are suing them for more and more absolute horseshit reasons. Because now you'll get people suing doctors for being fat-phobic and discriminating against them because of their size.
Yeah. Well, is there some estimate of how much money we would save if tort reform were put through? Is there some sort of number you can put on this?
I think there is, but I don't know it off the top of my head.
I mean, because right now in the U.S. economy, 1/6 of what we produce goes toward basically healthcare for everybody.
Mhm.
And of that health care, much of it is basically given to people in the last 6 months of their lives.
Mhm.
So if you're looking for things to trim, you need to kind of keep that in context. We're talking about 1/6 of the U.S. economy. So if tort reform brought it down by 10%, we're talking about a metric shit ton of money.
Yeah.
Mhm.
You know, so it would be good to know what the estimate is for how much of an impact this would have. Because in all likelihood, I suspect that the healthcare providers would try to pocket as much of that as they possibly could. Most people don't expect prices to go down. I think prices would probably stay there, and there'd just be a lot of new boats.
Yeah, that's the problem with once the prices get there, it's really hard to bring prices back down.
Yeah.
But all the things that I'm going through, the things that are causing the price to reach there to begin with.
Yeah, well, certainly that's one of the inflationary pressures. The other one is the amount of money that it takes to develop a drug, get it licensed, and then the marketing costs for the drugs.
Yep, and also because the price keeps on increasing due to the insurance cost increasing, that means that the number of people that are able to pay for their medical bills is decreasing, which means that in order for hospital to stay operational, for every person that isn't able to pay their bill, every person that is able to pay that bill has a higher bill. Because if they don't do that, the hospital just goes out of business, and now you have no hospital in the area rather than an expensive hospital in the area.
Okay, I'm going to give you an idea that I had that I've sort of been probably a few years ago, which I've sort of been sitting on. I've never brought this up on a stream.
Mm-hmm.
What if we did the following? We simply say that there is a base level of care that people are entitled to for humanitarian reasons. Okay? That does not necessarily include the $1 million per patient gene therapy. If you're on the public dole, you know, there's this basic level of care. And an easy way to come up with that would simply to be do something like, say, you're entitled to anything that is generic or has been on the market at least 15 years. Because if you look back 15 years, are you claiming that 15-year-old medicine was so barbaric and terrible and backwards that no human should have been forced to live under it? It's just a mechanism by which you can say there's a baseline that you get, and then through the fruits of your labor, there might be more that you're able to purchase. Yes, it does create a two-tier system, but you're talking about the difference between, what do we sort of give people as almost a right versus what kind of market can exist for people to basically buy more. Because it is a choice, right? You know, people have choices all the time. The place where I rent up in Silicon Valley is not a great neighborhood. It's just in a really great location for me and the work that I do. And I see an awful lot of people who are probably of fairly modest income relative to the area. And because they can't afford a house, a lot of them buy big, expensive cars. Like, I see a lot of Escalades with custom wheels. And I'm sitting here thinking, there's a very good chance this person's on some sort of government assistance. And I know I sound like a horrible human being, but sorry, it is what it is. And but at the same time, I see this conspicuous consumption in other areas. Why is it that somebody who makes the choice to do that versus purchase supplemental insurance is suddenly, when they become ill, entitled to, the cumulative tax burden of like a dozen people to get some sort of treatment? Why can't there be choices that the people make? They decide, I want to pay less money on healthcare and take my chances. No takebacks. Why can't we have that system? Because even if you just gave people the stuff that's listed as essential medical care in the UN, right, that formulary, you still would handle most of the medical things that people need. You wouldn't shit yourself to death. You wouldn't cough yourself to death. There's a lot of stuff in that formulary. And it largely covers most of the things that people need. Obviously you take care of broken arms and things, but there are going to be medical treatments that are even going to be beyond the reach of most people who are insured. And socialist medicine is not going to fix that. But we still want those things to be developed. We still want people who have made a lot more money than everybody else to drive the economy for those things so that they can then become mainstream 10, 15 years later. Otherwise, there's no incentive to develop a therapy that's so expensive that no government would be able to pay for it.
Mm-hmm. And
So everybody has
you first.
stage 1 health care paid by the government. And then if you want to upgrade, you pay for insurance.
And stage 1 is
beyond
really
that.
basic. Stage 1 is really basic. It's basically just essential medicine.
Yeah, and then
you don't get gene therapy. You don't get Herceptin if you get breast cancer. You don't get, there's a lot of things that you don't get. But once the stuff becomes more mainstream after, say, 15 years, like I like the idea of referencing it in terms of how long the stuff's been on the market, because I do like the idea that you can't claim that 15 years ago we lived in a barbaric society.
But you're also
and that
saying
it's unthinkable that they would get 15-year-old medicine.
You're also saying that if you want to buy more insurance to cover more things, then go ahead and do that.
Well, not only can you do it, you should do it.
Yeah.
If you have the means
I
to
think
do
that
it, you
would
absolutely should do it.
It's
Because
a modified Canadian model, effectively.
Yeah, I don't want to, but I mean by basic, I mean
Britain
really
has
basic.
that.
The really big expenses that we have, like I said, are usually the exceptions, and they drive things way the hell up. Like I said, there are going to be all sorts of things coming out that are going to be prohibitively expensive for individuals or governments to buy for everybody. Nobody's going to have a right to like a $6 million treatment, on the government dole. We can't print money fast enough to keep up with, the demand for something like that.
Biden's trying.
Well, suppose, for example, that for $1 million you can create a new heart for somebody. That would be fantastic. But maybe the government doesn't have enough money to build a new heart for every single person who needs one today. But in 10 years, they will be able to. There's going to be a period where only the really successful people financially are going to be able to afford something. And them paying the higher cost up front funds the development of it. Because I know this isn't a perfect system, but we need to continue to incentivize companies to innovate.
The last thing that you're saying really reminds me of something that I keep on having to point out to certain people, unfortunately, when it comes to medical research. Because I'll hear people say shit that I find virtually inexcusable. Because they'll say things like, I don't care if we develop a way of extending human life, because it's just going to be the rich people that are able to do it. And I keep on having to explain. When Gen 1 is the only gen, yeah, that will probably be the wealthiest people are able to afford it. When Gen 2 comes out, Gen 1 goes a step down. And now it isn't the wealthiest people are affording it. It's a step down from the wealthiest people are affording it. When it becomes Gen 3 is the newest gen, Gen 2 bumps Gen 1 down more. So now the not ridiculously wealthy, but well-off people are affording Gen 2 life extension technology. The just solidly middle class are now Gen 1 life extending tech. And the wealthiest, yeah, they're Gen 3 extending tech. Gen 4 comes out, bumps the entire system down.
Well, basic medicine is incredibly cheap.
Yep.
Most antibiotics are cheap. Most anti-seizure medicines are cheap. A lot of things, for mental health care stuff are relatively cheap. There's a ton that you can do. Maybe you get gabapentin, you don't get Lyrica. You get the stuff that's in the basic formulary. And maybe you just get x-rays. Maybe you don't get an MRI. These are not fun decisions, but at some point somebody has to make them.
Mm-hmm.
Because
personally
ultimately you don't want to get rid of innovation, but you do want to make sure that people get basic medical care because we are a rich enough country, we can afford to do that. Sorry,
I
Jen.
personally like that I'm the model
Yeah.
for the Gen 1, 2, and 3 because I am literally the model for Gen 1, 2, and 3.
Is it because your
Nope.
name is Jen?
No, it's because nobody to this date has survived the amount of injuries I've had
Yeah. Of course, you had insurance and
and
stuff.
continue to have.
You didn't
Which
just
number
show
10
up
is
and
you,
and
Maxie?
say the state has to take care of you.
Yeah, Jen is too stubborn to die. You know?
Get those titanium rods, shove them into my bone,
Yeah,
and
we can
don't
rebuild
charge
you.
me or my insurance couple a nickel.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I can't play the $6 Million Man theme, or we'll just get copy struck.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a constant march of the latest and greatest tech gets replaced by slightly older tech. And we notice this with everything else. But for some reason, there's a certain chunk of the population that seems to think that if we develop amazing gene therapy and we get Gen 1 ridiculous gene therapy, that Gen 1 ridiculous gene therapy will forevermore be reserved just for the most fantastically wealthy. And that's not how shit works.
No. You know, I mean, that's the way it is with everything. If you look at cars, for instance, the technology, you know, for a Mercedes-Benz starts out in the S class.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when all the, you know, the adaptive headlights and all the cool stuff comes in. And then next thing you know, it goes down and sort of percolates through the classes as it matures. And then even the E-class cars have the adaptive headlights at some point.
Mm-hmm.
The same thing happens in medicine. You know, so how do you have a system that takes care of the poor, keeps things reasonable for people who are working, who want a better standard of health care, and still have people who of significant means who either buy insurance or self-insured at the point where they can afford the latest and greatest treatments? You really end up with 3 different levels.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, hopefully the economy's doing really well and you won't have a whole lot of people at level 1.
Mm-hmm. And the problem is also that as so again, going back to what drives the cost of healthcare a fair bit, as the number of people whose hands touch a treatment from the production of the treatment in whatever facility it's being produced in until it hits the patient, the greater the price is always going to be. And we have a lot of places where the hands touching the treatment are suddenly the government, and the government does not do one person interacting with it. It becomes a horde of people. And there's also the problem of how, for instance, you guys familiar with how insulin ends up being priced?
No,
It used to be a lot better under Trump's administration.
it
So
was. Okay.
with insulin, the sticker price on insulin is rather expensive when you think about it, especially since you have to bear in mind this is something that we've been producing for fucking ages. And we're becoming more efficient at producing it. But you see, there's a rebate system that's supposed to be going on. But it's this very weirdly interrupted rebate system where the drug company that produces the drug has a rebate system for the pharmacy managers or the pharmacy benefit man, something along those lines, for the pharmacy. Let's just say that way. Or I think it's PBM, so it must be pharmacy benefit manager or some shit. that when the pharmacy buys the insulin, they can send a rebate to the drug company. Rather than the drug company just building that lower price in. And part of that's due to the regulation. Then the pharmacy benefit managers also being paid by the pharmacy as well as the health insurer. So those drive up the price as well. Because you have to pay for this person to get involved rather than it being the price is just decreased, sold to the pharmacy, and then it's sold on from there. But not only is there that rebate, but then the pharmacy benefit manager and the pharmacy have another rebate that goes to the consumer or the health insurer that then has to be accounted for, and that gets sent back, and then there's points where the price should be reduced, and it's not being reduced, and it's not being reduced because we have too many fucking hands touching it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas if it was streamlined down, suddenly the price of insulin goddamn plummets through the floor. And this is, again, something that tech will end up improving, because currently it's fairly infeasible to produce insulin at every pharmacist. You guys all agree that's a ridiculous requirement.
Given how they make it, that I don't see the big reactor being in the back of every pharmacy.
Exactly. But as tech goes on, we might develop a way where rather than it being this massive hundreds of gallons bioreactor, it's now a much smaller bioreactor. At which point it might become feasible due to the miniaturization of tech that you no longer have the massive bioreactors at this bio farm company. It's now a refrigerator-sized bioreactor that just has everything tuned to fucking 11 in the back room of your pharmacist. And that's shit that we would get with tech. We don't get that shit without the tech. We need to continue driving the tech.
Well, regulations are bad for everything, mostly.
Yep. Whenever the government starts trying to get into the habit of being the person who hands out the money, it costs a fuck ton more than it ever should have.
Oh, yeah.
Even though
good night, Kathy.
They're supposedly going to the lowest bid, the amount of shit that we get for what we pay is absolutely ridiculous. And it drives me crazy that this is true of fucking everything. And every now and then I'm going, can we, rather than going for the absolute lowest bid, can we go for like a step up? Because road maintenance is done by the absolute lowest bid. How many people are happy with the quality of their roads?
No one.
It seems like we're paying, or we're getting what we're paying for.
Yeah.
Hey, I just got spiffy new yellow and white lines on, not my street, but the main street that leads into my street.
Nice.
And they're also lovely and bright and a waste of my money. I mean, yay!
And they're going to need touching up in a half a week.
Yeah.
It's summer. They're you know, when you were a child, did you ever have that person that came to visit where your parents made you be on your best behavior, look your best, everything had to be spotless? You dust the china cabinet, but dust it again because it's been 5 minutes. before they get there.
Mm-hmm.
Anyone ever have that family member or guest?
Holiday party for my father's TAs.
Well, that is what Cape Cod is doing for tourists,
Mm-hmm.
making it look all pretty and not lived in so they can spend money.
Well, yeah, tourism is a big deal, and
Yeah, brings in
especially
a
after
massive amount of
they lost pretty much a year's worth of revenue from it. So
Actually,
now, of the people who are starting to do touristy things, they're all competing with each other to get those dollars.
and we actually had not bad tourist season last year, even
Yeah.
though it was supposed to be on lockdown. But pretty much every tourist that crosses the bridge is $500 out of our, we don't have to worry about.
Mm-hmm.
And there are a lot of people that cross the bridge that are tourists.
Well, how many of the tourists were people just hiding from the shit show in New York and large cities like that? Were there a lot of people just trying to get out to the country, or were they legitimately tourists? In the traditional sense.
There were a lot of New Yorkers and stuff that did come down to hide, so they stayed longer,
Mm-hmm.
but they still ate out at the restaurants, and
Oh yeah,
they
we're
still.
just talking about why you had the tourist trade. It wasn't necessarily they a lot of those people might not have been there if it hadn't been for COVID. Other people might have shown up.
Yeah,
So-
and people did extend their vacation longer than they would have too.
Yeah, because why go back to New York when they're a lot safer where they are there on Rhode Island?
Yeah, we don't put people in nursing homes with COVID.
Yep.
So, as an example of how much a bit of tourism can really buff an area, I've decided to look up one convention that I know actually published how much money the city that it's held in ends up getting. And every year that Anthrocon is held in Pittsburgh ends up getting more than $71 million pumped into its veins.
Nice.
For a 4-day convention.
That's
A
pretty good.
4-day convention, $71 million. More than $71 million.
What convention is that?
Anthrocon.
Panthacon?
Anthro. Like
Anthro?
anthropomorphic.
Anthropology.
No, it's not an anthropology con.
Oh, I was just using
No, he's talking about
anthro
the-
as
he's talking about the
prefix.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
prefix.
yeah.
Yeah, it's the same as anthropology. It's the largest, or the second largest furry con in the world now.
Oh,
Oh.
well, a funny thing, I used to go to school with somebody who was whose parents were on a 2-year vacation. So,
Huh.
yeah, it was like interesting.
Were they
They're
one
from
of the parents
Russia.
a professor and it's a sabbatical?
I have no idea. I just know they're from Russia. That's all they told me. So,
Okay.
yeah. Learn a minute.
Oh, and is the repeating the title does not explain it? Is that to me, Assassin? She didn't hear the name. I repeated the name because she didn't hear it. And then when I realized she wanted more, I explained more. Originally, she said the wrong name.
Yeah. Sanguine was correct. I needed him to repeat the title, and then when I still had no clue what he was talking about, he gets me.
Yeah, you go in stages. First, you get the name right. Then you figure out what the fuck it is.
Well, I know some things.
Yeah,
Like-
Yeah, but you
smart.
didn't know that.
What?
You can't know everything.
You didn't know that. That's a bit of rarefied knowledge.
Yeah, I can't believe.
Yeah.
I know
Yes.
many things.
I'm
in many ways.
Yes.
Do you know what time it is, though?
Yes,
No.
I do.
time
Shall we
to
go
buy
around
a
the horn?
watch.
Sure.
Who wants to go first?
Well, you know me. I always say, have fun. What's point living if you ain't having fun?
In
And I should have
that
some,
case-
and I should have some videos coming out pretty soon. Hopefully, if
Okay.
things work out.
Sounds good. In that case, let's go Kyiverdam next.
You want me to show my channel or something?
No, you just
Whatever
thoughts or
you want to
words.
say is your final words for the stream. If you want to shill, go ahead and shill.
This was an interesting stream, jumping from topic to topic, from pride to serial killers to other stuff like healthcare.
Welcome to Wednesday.
Yes.
And of course,
Fun
the
night.
bots in the chat.
Mm-hmm.
I hope you enjoyed your
ADHD.
first Wednesday stream, Keeve.
Thank you, Check.
It's not quite ADHD, Jenna. It's more Spurgs getting told, can you talk about anything else? So we talk about something else.
Yeah.
We spent a long time on cannibalism.
That's because cannibalism's fascinating.
Yeah.
Plus, Sanguine knows a lot. He knows a lot
Plus.
about everything.
Plus, when you're talking about things like you are what you eat, that means cannibalism or cannibals are the only real people alive.
Yeah.
Yes.
Tonight we chew the fat about cannibalism.
Yes. And do you have anything else that you want to add, Kyiverdam? Or are you good to go? And I'll move on to check either way.
I don't know. Hopefully, I can be on again sometime on
Absolutely.
on Wednesday.
Why me?
Because
Just kidding.
you're next in the rotation. We're going clockwise.
Oh, now I see. Clockwise, because you're a clock.
Nice.
All right.
Okay.
In the next couple of days, watch out for spam bot comments. I don't know what sets them off. Sanguine, Harry, and Hammer did a good job at bopping them. I didn't know who else was live, so I didn't know what to check, except for the live streams that are in my recommend by default, like the 24-hour music or whatever. Those didn't get spammed, so that's a good thing.
The
Just
credit goes entirely to the other two. I asked if they needed me. They said, no, you continue.
Yeah.
Ah.
We all had a job to do.
oh, because I saw Hidden by Minions of the Zoo, and I assumed that
was me.
Mm-hmm.
I just assumed it was Sanguine since he was running the show tonight.
Well, you can
yeah.
have more than one login, and I'm a keeper too. So,
Mm-hmm.
part of my job when I'm on as a guest is to support the host.
It was funny when there were 2 minions on the stream because they had the login.
Yeah.
Yeah, just keep an eye out on your chats. Pay extra close attention in these next few days, and I hope the Discord stays safe too.
Yes.
Yep, like I said, we have some measures already in place when it comes to the Discord, so we're decently safe on that.
Yeah.
We're not afraid to put the hammer down.
The wonton hammer down.
I know he's a bit older, but he's not quite that old.
What sets
And-
the spam
Okay.
accounts off though?
They just come. Nothing. They just come because.
Oh.
Someone sicked him on us. That's
Yeah.
all.
They just found a random stream. They want to mess around. You know.
Or they just picked us at random. You never know.
Mm-hmm.
Hope it wasn't Hassan Piker like they said it was.
No.
Probably not.
They were probably trying to make him look bad.
Which, really, if you're going to choose someone to try to make look bad, pick someone who doesn't do it by themselves.
Well, the left
Yeah.
defended his comments on the 9/11 thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's very ignorable. Don't care. I don't care what Hassan Piker has to say about anything.
Yeah.
He's the product of nepotism. So, Jenna, you want to go next?
If you ever marry a cannibal and you're not a cannibal, don't sleep in the same bed.
Mm.
They
Oh.
might get hungry in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
Yeah,
A snack.
just nibble on your toes.
Ugh. I'm not a feet person. If that didn't give it
You wouldn't be a
away.
feet person for
And-
long if you threw out a cannibal.
And Jenna, no. What you need to remember is you always befriend an exo-cannibal, never befriend an endo-cannibal.
What's the difference?
Exo-cannibals eat people outside of their group, endo-cannibals eat people within their group.
Gotcha.
There are categories.
Yeah.
Categories of everything.
And Harry.
I was just waiting for Sanguine to throw it to me.
I was just about to.
Well, anyway, yeah, I'm totally serious about the whole perfect is the enemy of the good thing. So much of life is about compromises. And so many people just don't understand that compromise is kind of necessary, except for the times when it's absolutely the worst idea possible. It's just knowing which battles to pick and choose. Yeah, healthcare is one of those things. There's no way when you're talking about 1/6 of the economy that there aren't going to be some difficult choices to make if you want to improve on what we have. Because we certainly can. We certainly can, but as soon as you make it a right, then basically they're going to have to dumb it down to the point where everybody gets something very meager. And I really don't want to see that happen.
Especially since we're responsible for over 50% of the novel medicines produced worldwide.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a fan of rich wankers, any more than anybody else is. But if they exist just to make the future a little bit brighter in terms of medicine, I can live with that. That, and thanks for having me on.
Absolutely, always good having you.
Yes.
So, I'll leave off with my standard of if you're passionate about something, make sure that you devour it. Don't let it devour you. Also, I'll probably be hopping over into the Discord voice chat for any of you that want to join in the after talk.
Yeah, it should
So
be
with
fun.
that, have a good night all. The zoo is closed.
Good
Have
night.
fun.
Bye.
Good night.
Take
Yeah.
care.
Don't get eaten before you eat them.
Do-do-do-do-do-do.